From picking up your morning coffee to shipping a package to grabbing some cash from the ATM, you pass through several service systems each day. In fact, Americans spent $7 trillion on services last year. As designers, we play an important role in designing better service experiences. But what exactly is service design? And how is designing a service different than designing a website or a consumer environment? Continuum and the AIGA brought together a group of people from different backgrounds and industries to discuss how designing a service experience with purpose can transform a company's image and make people's lives better.
Founded in 1983, Continuum is a global design and innovation consultancy. For more than 27 years, the company focus has been to help organizations drive business innovation through the design of products, services, and experiences that become a part of people's lives around the world. Continuum has more than 180 full-time employees working out of 5 offices around the world, in Boston, in Los Angeles, in Milan, in Seoul and Shanghai. The Continuum team is made up of multidisciplinary, multicultural professionals with diverse experiences, including anthropologists, architects, brand strategists, business strategists, economists, electrical, mechanical, and software engineers, psychologists, and designers from several areas such as graphic, industrial, interaction, interior, retail, and web. Continuum's diverse teams focus on challenges in areas including brand communications, business innovation, digital solutions, design strategy, engineering. Continuum has garnered more than 200 awards for outstanding innovation and design and owns more than 330 design and utility patents.
We invited Luca Sacchi to Coffee ICRIM to talk about innovation and internationalization. The way it works is essentially that we both drink coffee and I ask you questions. So we start with the coffee. Would you like mocha coffee or a blend of Brazilian?
Sounds intriguing, so I would go for the Brazilian.
Luca Sacchi is a consultant at Continuum office in Milan, where he works in the program development area. Can you please describe the Continuum approach to consulting, which is the process you follow to develop solutions for your clients?
Continuum is, as we heard, an innovation consultancy agency. And innovation can have a lot of meanings. It's hard to define what people and firms as well consider innovation and what they do to innovate. There's actually some sort of constant will of innovating without having a precise idea of how to respond to that. Usually the response is simply technological, but we know that innovation comes, and the profitable innovation comes from very different areas. But innovation can't be done without the other stakeholders. So what we do is we never work alone. We work together with the client in trying to understand their needs. Why do they come to us? We have to know that usually it's clients that come to Continuum because they feel the need of, in some way, changing, evolving, getting new markets, new opportunities, or just the feeling that they're not evolving enough. And so the process of incremental innovation on what they do is not enough because of competition and the changement of the environment. And therefore, it's always a question of starting in some way from zero, as if we were aliens that for the first time land in the world or in that certain industry, and try to understand exactly what they want to do, what they need. So what's the area that we have to work? So the first stage is an alignment, and this element of alignment is very important to get the best brief, because obviously the projects are usually very hard to define, and the path will be long, expensive, and will bring radical change also internally to the company. So they're betting a lot. It's a big stake. And therefore we have to be, in the creative area, very precise and very analytic. Therefore, the first step is aligning with the client, understanding the scopes of the project, and having an idea. Then the second process is starting to discover. Innovation always comes, at the end, it's about people and understanding their values and what they consider important for their lives. And therefore we have to each time understand what these values represent, and therefore we have to start discovering. And so we go on the field and do some research, which is of ethnographic style, but is not a research that wants to be the end result. It's functional to the scope we define together with the client. Therefore, there are we use a series of techniques. Usually it's a very efficient kind of research, very focused on what we want to do, but then again it's still trying to be as unbiased as possible. We have to learn from people and we have to be surprised.
Would it be correct saying that you're trying to bring an external view into the internal process of innovation?
We try to be naive in a way, not thinking that innovation goes in the same direction. It could be the response. What we say is that the response of our process can be a new product, can be a new service, but we try not to determine that beforehand. What really could take away frustration or improve people's life, that's an important part for Continuum. We think that there's not such thing as that creates value for the people and for the companies. We're always focused on trying to have innovation that's also good for the business of our clients, where they wouldn't come back and they wouldn't grow, is to create something which is significant for the people, because if you feel that thing or service improves your life, then you will want it greatly. And therefore, the idea of what does that is not something that we want to think beforehand. We want to see how people and see where the frustration lies, because frustration is for us a very important element of analysis, because usually the biggest opportunities are in the frustration and not in what works or improving what already satisfies the people.
Another area of expertise, as far as I understand, is design strategy. And how important is, in your view, design in today's international competition?
Design is, especially here in Italy, greatly in Europe in general, it's seen as simply the last part of the definition of a product, so the aesthetics in some way, if it's good looking or not good looking. We see design as designing the experience and designing the interaction and the relation between the individual or the society and that product or service. That's why we call it design strategy. Design, and that's why a product, it can't be just a product. It's a complex system, almost always. And you have to consider the design of all the systems. So how you get in touch with the product, what it does, how many stakeholders relate to that, and what consequence it has. In this sense, I think there's still a lot to do and a lot of opportunities. With firms in general, especially product firms, tend to be very product-centered. It's like the idea is that you have a problem and you add features to get to a solution without really understanding what are the values and aspirations of people so that you can respond to that. Almost always, we've seen or today also, the big business success are related to the emotional part and the emotional relation to a service or a product or a brand, more than the exceptional features of a product itself. So what we try to understand, and for us design is that, and we consider that extremely important, because the competition on a product It's something that will be always more difficult to stand in a global market. Product can be imitated quickly, rapidly. The incremental innovation is now become very expensive because most products are very mature. So you have to change the way people approach that. And it's very easy when you see a great example of when something like that happens and radically changes the thing, but probably from what happened to the mobile phone world with the iPhone, it's obviously a great example. People would never. It's just a question of perception, and then you change radically a market with new point of views.
Another important feature in today international competition is the role of brands and the power of brands, the capability of building a brand awareness internationally. What is your view on that? What are the critical issues in building a brand that can reach an international audience?
For us, brand is not very different from building a design strategy. Brands resonate to people in the proportion how much they manage to satisfy certain needs and express and manage to satisfy the value and aspirations of people. We obviously think that things like advertising, it's important, but you can't force people to like something. They have to like something, and then you create an advertising to let's say enhance this emotion, but not the other way around, which is how many brands probably approach the market. And obviously, if it's resonating to people, that it's a key factor. It's different wherever you go. In different parts of the world, we have different values, aspirations, and what people see on one place and what people consider important for them in one area of the world is very, very different from what people on another side will consider. Therefore, being international means being local, or glocal, to use fancy words. So being understanding local values for an international approach, business approach. You can't miss that. It's like globalization is not being international. It's being global, and global means it's the next step, being local again. And that's what we do as well. I mean, we have 5 offices around the world, and for us, the offices are not a way to duplicate our expertise. We always do projects in sharing capabilities and people. What the local office does is actually trying to understand, that's the aim, in the best possible way, the local values. So to be able to give that greater depth in terms of the importance of the product or service, the development and innovation, that will resonate more for that market. It will be very hard to work for Chinese companies staying in US and just staying there without not only moving but living there.
The critical issues are related to different approach to science, style, graphics, or just an overall culture.
It's overall culture, and then translate also into signs and colors. And it's a question of one radical thing that makes you understand the difference is that in Asia, in China especially, there's no such thing as the best. It's not something where people aim having the best. They want to have something better each time. So improving, because if they have the best, the feeling they have is that I can't get more than that. I won't grow anymore. Instead, obviously in us and US especially, the concept of the best is something that's very important. So it's easy to understand that it's impossible to speak the same language in terms of products and of innovation. You have to approach it in a different way. And also, a radical thing is how quickly things change and the values of things. You can, especially in retail, for example, in China, you create retail stores with something that would be probably 1/50 of the cost that you have in US. And so you're actually always working in beta in some way. It's always a process. You're always prototyping, but the prototype is actually the real thing. You're not creating a prototype and then doing a final product that will stay there for years.
Talking about China, give me the opportunity to try to expand further these considerations to emerging countries, emerging economies. Do you think there should be a peculiar approach in product development when it comes about those countries? Does Continuum has built expertise in that field? It's
one of the most interesting things that are happening, actually. We're now working, for example, for Chinese firms as Italian office, because what they ask for is they want Italian/European design, and in Asia it's still an important value. Italian design and our tradition, it's for them something very aspirational, very important. But then again, they don't really want Italian design, European design. I would say what they want is the Italian or European designer to try to translate a product for the Chinese market with something that they can't catch, but it's like having the signature. It's made by a European designer. So there's a high level of aspiration, as much as we had a few years ago towards the US, the aspiration. So you have to understand what they see, what we don't see. And it's going back to what you were saying, the question before, it's when we watch a catalog they have, we really see things. We will never have it that way, because maybe there are details that we find unacceptable, and they just simply don't see it, and instead see things that we don't. Therefore, it's very tough, but it's extremely interesting and challenging, because the idea of the demand of working globally and demand of understanding, so this going backwards and forwards in some way. A Chinese client that wants, for the Chinese market, a European designer that understands the Chinese market in a way, but being European. And this combination is where I think the designers have the greatest opportunities nowadays to make a difference. And then it's really interesting. Should you advise a small size firm to consider a good approach to innovation and product design? Would you give the same advices then to a larger organization? Do you see a peculiarity in the type of organization and size and resources? I would absolutely give the same advice. The small firms have the advantage of being much quicker, and they have to take that advantage. Otherwise, they would have they would waste the greatest opportunity they have of being small. Obviously, the resources are very different. I mean, probably many times the innovation office, and which means we always have. We often work with innovation offices in the company, and we have some doubts about them, because if you have an innovation office, it's like as if innovation concerns only a part of the company, and that's what big firms do. They have an innovation offices, and in some way, innovation is their matter. And instead, we know that innovation comes only if the whole company is in this process. So that's the great difficulty of big companies. Small companies obviously can't afford that, and from our point of view, it's actually a fortune, an opportunity, because usually the management is you don't have a lot of levels, you don't have a lot of departments, and so the management is, every approach they have and change will directly influence the company obviously the risk is quite high. Another thing I would like to keep, again, talking about the global mentality, this time looking the other side, so towards the US, and having their great capacity of giving value to what we would call failure, or making mistakes. It's like an ongoing process. For the people in the US, it's if you don't make mistakes, there's something wrong in your process, because it's impossible not to make them. It's simply a question of being quick at making them. So that's what we do, and we call it fast prototyping. We try to make being good in making mistakes. That means doing them quickly when they have less consequences, and when they cost less, and learning a lot from them. So that's our be quick in making mistakes approach, and that's something that probably it's very important to be learned from medium, small firms in Italy and Europe. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.